Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is the Fantastic Four number 2 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Uh, so the first video I did was Fantastic Four number 1 on this obviously historic series from Marvel Comics. And the first story is pretty good. I thought the whole Mole Man thing was very interesting and almost tragic in a way. The second story in here technically has also a lot of historic value besides being the second issue ever. And that it's the introduction of the Skrulls, which is a reoccurring sort of villainous alien race in the Marvel Universe. But the overall story is kind of a bit, I wouldn't say formulaic. I think at the time that this came out, this was probably pretty interesting or unique, but it feels very DC Comics. Like, it feels very Green Lantern. Anyway, we join here and we take a look at the Thing. He's swimming over to this oil rig off of the Texas coast, proceeds to smash one of the pillars and destroy this rig. And everyone, of course, is shocked, like, what is the Thing doing? He just destroyed a, extremely valuable oil rig. Over in New York, Susan Storm is looking at this precious jewel, which she proceeds to steal, go invisible, and disappear. In the Midwest, this statue, looks like a Civil War statue, is being presented, and a very expensive statue that it took 5 years to build, and the Human Torch just sort of flies by and melts it. And of course, logically speaking, Mr. Fantastic goes over to the power plant of some great city and turns off the power plant, plunging the entire city into darkness. And of course, we're trying to figure out what exactly is going on. And lo and behold, the Fantastic Four, after they explain how they did these feats without using their powers, because of course they are Skrulls, and this is sort of the introduction of the primary mechanic that the Skrulls have in the Marvel Universe, which is being able to transform into other people, and in this case, a lot of times like other animals and sometimes objects, which is pretty interesting. The original design of the Skrulls, by the way, hasn't changed too much from Jack Kirby's concept. They're a little bit more gremlin-like in this issue right here. So over in a hunting lodge, somewhere in remote, apparently the Fantastic Four were on vacation, I guess shooting deer or something. you have Johnny Storm with a rifle right here. And they're kind of trying to figure out what the heck, because they're getting the news reports in that the Fantastic Four are doing all these evil deeds. Of course, they're not doing those deeds because they're here out in the forest enjoying some family time. So the Thing kind of loses it, and he gets really anxious and frustrated. He wants to go out and beat up or fight people right now. Stan Lee in these early issues made the Thing very irritable. Like, Ben Grimm was a very irritable guy. He's always on the edge, almost Wolverine-like in a way, always losing it all the time. So Reed kind of calms him down, and they end up doing, so this is really cool here. This is basically a recap. Reed is sort of blaming himself for why Ben is so frustrated, because he goes on to explain the origins of the Fantastic Four. So really good. This is a good part 1 of this whole thing where he kind of explains everything. Notice how we've only gone like 5 pages, and look how much has happened in 5 pages. Again, like I hate, I feel like I repeat myself too much, but these old comics, they move like lightning fast. You are gonna literally plow through the story in the pages that are given to you. Anyhow, the U.S. Army surrounds the Fantastic Four, and they put them into a bunch of cells that are specifically designed to keep them contained. Of course, the Fantastic Four very quickly figure out how to get out of these cells very easily. And they end up basically escaping from this army jail. And they find out that, hey, the Fantastic Four might want to, these fake Fantastic Four might want to hijack this new rocket that's going to be tested. And you get a lot of also back and forth. You get Get a little bit of the revelation of the relationship between Johnny Storm and the Thing, as Johnny's kind of a hothead and a bit of a prick, and the Thing, of course, is pretty proud and bolsterous, and the two kind of bounce off each other, even though there's nothing personal between the two. So Johnny ends up flying over there and running into the fake Fantastic Four, and they kidnap him, and just as he's about to get overpowered, the rest of the Fantastic Four show up and take out these alien goons. And then I think they imprison them in their apartment, and they end up taking their spaceship back over to the Skrull spaceship. And here, this is pretty funny. So Reed Richards tricks him by using a bunch of clipped monsters from Strange Tales and Journey into Mystery, which is basically the other Marvel comic books that are going on at the time. It was Strange Tales, Journey into Mysteries, Amazing Tales or Amazing Stories, and Fantastic Four were the big stuff going on. Strange Tales was Ant-Man, Amazing Tales eventually became Spider-Man, and Journey into Mystery became Thor. And those were kind of like the old Marvel stories, right? Actually, I forget. I think it was Strange Tales or Amazing also became Iron Man, because it was like an anthology of different stories. But anyway, Stan Lee having a little bit of fun here. He's basically stealing from his other comic book, and it's kind of a little bit of Deadpool before Deadpool here. He's kind of like, they know that Marvel Comics exists within the Marvel Comics universe. So having a little fun here, a little bit of a no-no from Stan, but still pretty funny in the context of it, right? So he shows off all of these hidden space mines and these monster ants. And the Skrull General is freaking out and decides, yeah, I'm like, I don't want any of this. And then he tells him, like, we're all going back, but Reed's like, we're going to stay behind, because they posed as Skrulls here to trick them. And he's like, we're going to stay behind and sacrifice ourselves to save the Skrull Empire. And the freaking General gives him a badge, and they end up going back to Earth, all the happier, with the Skrull invading fleet leaving. And here you get a fun little, this is a kind of a reoccurring thing, which is the thing regaining his humanity back and forth throughout the magazine, right? Ben Grimm kind of transforming and not having control over being the Thing or Ben Grimm. So they float through the same radiation belt that gave them their powers, and he gets transformed back to human for a short time. The police show up as they land and decide to arrest him, and then the Thing ends up transforming, or Ben ends up transforming back into the Thing. Here, again, this is the sort of continuous concept of Ben Grimm, always struggling with being the Thing, desiring to be Ben Grimm, to be human again, but at the same time, also being in love with his power too, right? Being the Thing, he is practically almost invincible, but as Ben Grimm, he's just kind of a dude, right? So anyhow, they end up going back to the Fantastic Four's apartment, and because the police don't believe them that they were being impersonated, but when they open up, the Skrulls apparently were able to escape whatever bind that the Fantastic Four had them in, and they try to transform into monsters to freak people out, but the Fantastic Four overpower them very quickly, and the police sort of thank them for their service, now understanding the issue at hand here. Also, Reed here is kind of like, what do we do with these Skrulls? So initially threatening to, to kill them, the Skrulls decide that they don't want to die and they'll do whatever it takes to live. So Reed hypnotizes them and tells them to live the rest of their lives as cows. Which is pretty funny right here. You know what's kind of interesting here is just sort of like the idea that cows have a peaceful life, right? But these guys are going to get milked their entire life. And the farmer's probably going to be thinking like, why is there no milk? Because you're yanking on a Skrull. Anyhow, you also get, this is a cool, they did these little pinups. So this was a pinup for the Thing. and then Spider-Man had a bunch of pinups, and everybody had pinups in these old Marvel comics back in the day. Really cool stuff. But anyhow, next issue is number 3, which is also the introduction of the Fantastic Four costumes and the Fantasticar. You know, trademark pending. But yeah, this issue is, you know, classic Stan Lee storytelling. It's a little bit more, I would say, formulaic and kind of story of the or like episode of the, you know, episodic in a way, right? And the Skrulls themselves are just your typical aliens initially. They're not super interesting, and it's almost like they're almost comedic in a way. When you look at them, they're not very threatening. But again, this was kind of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby kind of trying to figure out where this series is going. And in terms of historic value, the Skrulls became a big deal later on in the Marvel Universe overall. So not bad. Again, you know, this is still the early Fantastic Four. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby are still kind of trying to figure it out. So when you get further into it, I kind of agree with some of the commenters here. It gets very interesting, especially when Namor and Doctor Doom get involved. This series really becomes quite unique. But anyhow, that's the review, guys. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. If you've got any comments on the Fantastic Four number 2, leave it down below, and I will see you next time.